So I'm Thomas Betts. My day job, I'm a software architect at Blackbaud, which is the largest software provider for the social impact community. I also spend a lot of time, my free time, working for InfoQ. I'm the lead editor for architecture and design, editing articles and news stories, doing the InfoQ podcast, and I participate with QCon, which is the conference side of InfoQ. And so I'll be at QCon San Francisco, and I've been at QCon London in the past. So Blackbaud is a company that's been around for 40 years. It's pretty old for a software company. It's all about providing solutions for nonprofits, foundations, education, schools to do fundraising. I work on the accounting side because there's different financial requirements for nonprofits. And so bringing all those systems together, we're really trying to connect them. So you can provide everything from here's how your donation is provided, all the way to here's how it's being distributed to to provide the impact that you're hoping to. The reason that Blackbaud exists is because these companies are not specialists in writing software. They are specialists in whatever their nonprofit mission is and organizing fundraising and getting donors, and that's what their mission is. And just like any company where you want to be able to do your job, sometimes you need software to help you with that. So just like our flagship product helps you do fundraising, it's a customer relationship management system, but it's specifically for donor management, which is different than your customers that you want to sell products to. Here your donors are asking or providing you money and giving you gifts. Those companies, we want to enable them to be able to focus on providing the good that they provide in the world, and we just provide the software that helps them get that done. So I can't really name any of our specific customers. One of the products we're working on now is adding a direct payment system into our financial products. So you have to track all of your invoices, and you want to be able to pay those bills electronically, automatically. This saves a lot of time because people were still printing checks and mailing checks, and there's check fraud issues. And just like you pay your own personal bills online, it's just easy. We're allowing our customers to do that. So it's one stop to just like enter your details, and then we take care of the payment for them. So I've been doing software architecture. I've been interested in doing a software architecture for almost 20 years. Been doing development for probably 25. And I've worked in a lot of different industries, a lot of different companies. And so that background is actually useful because I haven't just been working at this one company. I'm able to jump in and ask questions. How do the people relate? How do we solve the customer's problems? And understanding that it's not always about what's the technology, what's the code we're trying to write, what are the actual business problems. So being able to provide those different perspectives. As an architect, you have to understand different viewpoints, talk to different people. Gregor Hope talked about riding the architect elevator. You need to be able to talk to all these people at different levels. And part of that is being able to have the conversations about what are your problems? How can we solve them with technology? Should we write new software? Should we get something off the shelf? And how do we put that all together to make a cohesive package for what the customer actually needs? Yeah, so InfoQ came from, I think C4 is the overarching company. It's a community of professionals for professionals, a community of communities of communities. All of the people who participate in InfoQ are practitioners. So I got interested and started writing as an editor because I was a professional software developer and I had things that I was interested in, and I would go out and find the news stories, and instead of just posting on my own blog, it gets written as news. And it's different than a blog. It is actually covering the news. But we're not a breaking news site. It's not, here's the news that came out yesterday. It's best, not first kind of approach. And we like to think of ourselves as information Robin Hoods, that we use our connections in our network to find the stories and the elites that have these little bits of knowledge and how the innovators and early adopters are coming up with new ways to solve problems with software. How do we share that with the broader community? So I was going a little bit deeper, providing more context around the stories. So a little bit of writing news, editing articles that people can submit. Anyone can submit to InfoQ. Myself or one of the other editors will help guide you through the process of getting that article published and refined. I do an InfoQ podcast every so often, and we put together, I'm one of the people in charge of the annual trends report. So InfoQ does a trends report in different categories. I'm overseeing the architecture and design trends for the last few years. So that looks at what are the early innovator and early adopter topics going on in software right now. And those are the things we want to cover in our news. And in the current trends, architecture is different than other parts of software. Like with languages come and evolve, and new frameworks and new libraries come out. Architecture tends to be more stable. Like it moves a lot more slowly. But obviously, GenAI has been the overwhelming trend the last few years. People are trying to figure out how to use it. How do architects need to change how they design systems around GenAI? That was the topic of my talk here at the software architecture gathering. How do architects look at this technology and how do we incorporate that? But we also look at different ways that large companies and large systems are managing the current scale problems. How do we make things more efficient? How do we use microservices efficiently? Does it make sense to do microservices? Cell-based architecture has been around for a while, but more companies are adopting it now because they see the benefits of building your system and deploying it in little units that can be more resilient to outages. So how do you design that so your customers aren't impacted if one data center goes down? Things like that. I think it's difficult to see look into the future. If we're trying to look 5-10 years out, it's very difficult to predict where we're going to be, but it's a question people love to ask. I don't have any of the answers. I think, like I said, GenAI, we're in the early phases of the hype cycle. I think we're past the crest and people are realizing that it doesn't do everything we want it to do, but in 5 years, we'll find ways to use GenAI or the next version of GenAI effectively. And we'll start seeing that as part of our applications. I think right now we see CEOs and product owners saying, please, we need AI in our products. And it's this, I want it to make it appear like we're being innovative because everyone has AI, but we don't know how to use it effectively. In 5 years, customers will just expect it. It'll be part of every application in some way, and people will just expect that to be there. It was like how search revolutionized things and the iPhone revolutionized things, and it just set a new bar. That type of behavior of a natural language interface is going to be part of applications, and it'll just be table stakes in 5 years. That doesn't mean everyone should be developing it. We have to figure out how to use this as a commodity in our applications. People shouldn't be building their own LLMs. They should just find a way to build it in and use that to make their products better. So one of the questions people always ask me when I'm trying to be, they're asking, how do I become a software architect? What do I need to do? You need to be more of a T-shaped person. So you can't be specialized in just one thing. You probably have that background. I started as actually a mechanical engineer and then have a degree in systems engineering. But I use that technical, I want to solve problems approach and that mindset. And then the software that I built provided a deep foundation. And then as I got into more architecture, it's thinking about how the system comes together. And you have to have this broader but shallower view of the system. It also means you have to be able to talk to different people about different things. That's talking to technical people, talk to the developers, but talk to your business owners, talk to your CEOs and CTOs, and you have to be able to learn how to talk to them, which is in a presentation I've given in the past about the ways to level up as an architect. Communication is the number one skill you have to have. People think that the number one skill of being an architect is you're making decisions, you're coming up with the designs. Before you get to that, you have to know how to communicate, because if you haven't communicated well what your requirements are, then the design is going to be the wrong design. You're not going to be able to build the right thing. And once you've designed what the system's supposed to look like, if you can't communicate that design to the people who have to build it, or communicate why you think this is a good design to your business stakeholders, they're not going to approve the project. So communication is always important, and that's a skill that people sometimes overlook if they're just a developer, because they think, I just need to write code. And so much of software is not about writing code. It's about the decisions we make, the collaboration we have, and working with other people. And sometimes that comes to the conclusion, the best thing we need to do is not write code. There can't be any bugs in code that we don't write. So think about the problems you're trying to solve, talk to all the people, analyze it, spend more time doing that. Not to the big upfront design, we never get to doing the building, but find that balance. And so it's something you have to refine over time. But the more people you talk to, the more experience you have, usually just helps you become a better architect. So if you're wondering how to get better at doing your data job as an architect and continuing to grow, I think everyone has to be a lifelong learner. It's something I personally embrace. I'm just naturally curious, and I like to learn about things I don't know. I like to solve the problems that I don't understand. And I think that's common for a lot of people who are in the technology field. With architecture, sometimes it means going even further afield. It's not just learn the new library that just came out last week and how do I use that, but look at the patterns, come to conferences, talk to people who are solving the big problems, because sometimes the way that they solved a problem might not be what you need, but it'll spark the creativity. So have those discussions. I think also when you're doing the work, one of the bits of advice I heard from Andrew Harmel Law is that anyone can make a software decision, but you need to do two things. You need to talk to the people who will be affected by the decision and talk to the experts who have the knowledge about the decision. And that talks back to the importance of communication. Who are the people you need to talk to and what answers do they have? Because if you think you can solve everything on your own and you can just sit down and muddle through it and I'm going to come up with the perfect design, you're going to miss a lot of the context. And if we don't have the context of the problem we're trying to solve, you're going to solve the wrong problem. So the reason I think conferences are important, I've been coming to software conferences for decades, and I work with QCon, the conference side of InfoQ. It's just super valuable for people to continue that lifelong learning. You want to learn new topics, and so hearing people talk about the latest trends and the latest ways they're solving problems, but really you want to meet with other practitioners, not just the developer advocates who are telling, hey, here's the new product you should use, and here's my great new software. But I want to hear the people from the trenches. What are the stories that they are telling me? How are they getting things done? And I want to hear the good and the bad. Like, not everything works out perfectly. We've all had the stories of, I had a great plan, it didn't go as we expected, we had to change, but here's the lessons we learned. If you can hear those stories of how people learned the lessons, that's useful. A lot of times, if you just read what's posted online, they'll tell you, here's the happy path, here's the design, here's the way we came to it. When you come to a conference and you get to meet people and talk to them face to face, then you have the chance to go a little bit deeper. Ask the question, well, that's what happened. What really happened? Oh, well, things didn't work out that well, but we solved that problem and we decided to go in this direction instead. That's where the real knowledge comes. That's the learning that sometimes you get the scar tissue from doing the wrong thing. If we can teach each other so we don't have to go through those same pitfalls ourselves, that's a real benefit. Architects have a role to be not just the technical person, but also they're in a leadership role. And I talked about that idea of ways to level up your architecture game. The top of that pyramid was leadership. And I think that's leading by example, welcoming people in, welcoming other viewpoints, making sure people are heard. Sometimes people aren't comfortable speaking up in front of a large group, but maybe you can meet with them one-on-one, gather their feedback. The idea of talk to the people who have the knowledge of the decision and people who will be impacted by the decision. Sometimes you have to figure out, how do I talk to those people? Get them to feel comfortable talking about what they think, and then show them the example. Show them that they can also make a decision, that architecture is not just designed by the people who are architects and have that title. A lot of people who are just engineers are doing architecture. But make it explicit. Show them you need to make these conscious decisions, write them down, discuss them, and again, just lead by example. Bring everybody in and figure out, whether that's, different genders, different backgrounds, different neurodiversity. There are different ways you have to learn to communicate with people. We just need to be empathetic and try and, accept that everyone has something to contribute and they're all trying to, get to the same common goal, and we can all work together if we actually take the time to work on the same problem.